What's going on, good people? How we doing? Happy Saturday, everybody. Hopefully everybody had a good start to their weekend. You know what it is. We got the Bears. The Bears. We got the Bears this week. I'm excited, man. I'm excited because you know what? I'm not gonna jump overboard or anything like that, but I do think the New York Giants got a chance. I do think we have a chance this week. Let me go ahead and cut this music down a bit. Actually, I'm gonna switch my music a little bit. How's everybody doing, man? Shout out to the 42 people already in the building. Please make sure you hit that like button on the way in. It'll let the algorithm know that we in the building. And the algorithm will let other Giants fans know that we are in the building. How's everybody doing tonight, man? We got a lot of things to talk about. Let me go ahead and put the comments on the board so you guys can see them as well. Yeah. We got some things to talk about, Coach. Coach, we got some things to talk about. Coach just stroked the. We got some things to talk about, man. I got things written down that I want to talk about. Some things I want to get out of the way too, man. Some things that we need to get out of the way as New York Giants fans and expectations as far as if we're already talking about who the next head coach could possibly be. And some of the names that I'm hearing are familiar names for sure. People that have, a good track record and stuff like that, but they might be just way past their time. So we're going to get into that a little bit too. I'm going to talk about the practice squad elevations too. Young Quay Koo is going to be the kicker tomorrow because of Graham Gano and another mysterious injury of the neck that happened. We got that to talk about. We got some trade deadline. We're going to talk about that a little bit too. And yeah, we're going to kick things off though, man. I was surprised to see at the trade deadline. Well, not surprised that the Giants didn't make any moves. We kind of figured that out. We kind of figured that it wasn't going to be any moves being made, but when you're in the thick of it, right? When you're seeing all these teams making all these moves, especially in the division, the Dallas Cowboys had a day. They had a day at the trade deadline. I tell you what, that's a big move for them. For them to pick up Quinnen Williams, that's a big move, man. Now you got to deal with Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams. We'll see those guys, towards the end of the season, and we'll see what's going on with that. It made me kind of adjust what I wanted to do during the draft too, because as you know, I've been doing mock drafts like crazy. But I do want to get a quick roll call going. Before we get some of these questions answered, I'm already seeing. Shout out to the people in the building already. I'm gonna start from the top. My big brother in the building said, "Big Dash, let's go." That's a fact. Stephen Arch, what's going on, Stephen Arch? How you doing? Coach D is in the building. What's going on, Coach? Stephen Arch starting trouble already. He said, laugh out loud. Y'all didn't want Dart at 3. Sure didn't. Talking about Dart like y'all loved him from USC. Sure didn't. Some of y'all wanted Caleb and JD5. Definitely wanted JD5. I didn't like Caleb too much because I felt like he was a lot off script. We'll see what happens tomorrow. And plus May looks better with less wide receiver talent. There's a lot of good gems in that comment. I can't disagree with a lot of those because I definitely didn't want Dart at 3. But we got Dart, and guess what? I'm happy about it. I'm never afraid of being wrong, especially when it ends up in the Giants' favor. So shout out to Dart being the 25th pick for the New York Giants this year and looking like the franchise quarterback of the future for the New York Giants for sure. Shout out to Lynn. Lynn in the building says, I hope our field goal kicker's range is at least 40 yards. I believe it is. At least inside it is. Because he's been kicking in a dome for a long time. But it should be. He should be good. Shout out to Luann in the building. Says Dart wants to make a run. The season isn't over. Listen, I'm not going to discourage anybody from having faith. That's not my job. That's not my job. Shout out to my man Xavier in the building. Peace out to you. Salute to you and salute to your son out there doing big things. Varsity football. We'll be hearing about this young kid soon for sure. Will Collectors Lounge 65th said your Big Dash was good. I need to see a win. I'm getting too old for all of these losses. Listen, it's a lot of losses, man. We've been collecting a lot of losses for a long time. I'm hoping for a win tomorrow, though. I think it's feasible. I absolutely think it's feasible. Got to be able to stick to the game plan. When you look at that Chicago Bears defense, nothing to write home about. I think we can get busy. Now, the other thing is this. Can the pass rush get home? Because we already know Caleb Williams is the type of quarterback that can extend plays. And if he can extend plays, secondary is barbecue chicken. We got to get to Caleb Williams. We got to get to him fast, too. Shout out to my man TP Way in the building. If you are not subscribed to my man TP Way, the Giant, make sure you guys go ahead and do that. Fantastic Giants content creator out here on YouTube. Make sure you go ahead and check his channel out. Kelvin Davis says, let's effing go. Got my man Drew from Two Giant Goofballs in the building. Said, what's up, everybody? Somebody show my man Drew some love. Stacy in the building says Dash was good. I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. I think the score of the Alabama game was 3-3 when I left. So you guys got to keep me on point with that game right now. Let me know what those scores are. Special Kalen is in the building. Let's fire these jokers. We're gonna get to that. We definitely gonna get to that, man. There's a lot of things we got to talk about in this show, man. Shout out to Illusions with the $2 super chat. He says, have you thought of doing a collab with Bad Dog? I got no problem with doing a collab with Bad Dog. I follow Bad Dog. I believe he follows me back on Twitter too. He actually gave me some pointers on the soundboard too when I reached out to him when I was trying to get my soundboard right. So Bad Dog was cool with me for sure. Definitely not against that. Got to work on those schedules though. Greg says, Dash, we are going to kick ass tomorrow from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Shout out to Myrtle Beach. JDJ, he says, interesting. They didn't put Gano on IR. They really trust him to finish the season as their kicker. We're going to start there. We'll start there, and then I'll get to some more of these comments. Yeah. So they made the move to Koo without really making a move to Koo. So for me, it's a no-brainer when it comes to the situation with Graham Gano. Either you shut him down for the rest of the year and then work on cutting him and saving some money for 2026, or you keep him on a roster and hope that he does good. I think the reason why they want to do that, or why they didn't make the IR move, is because if Koo goes out there tomorrow and he's horrible, they want to have Graham Gano have that availability for possibly next week or the week after that or whatever. He already said he's willing to take the shot to the neck in order to, for the pain relief. So it's all about what Koo does tomorrow, in my opinion, whether or not they moved Gano to the IR or not. We'll see what happens. So Ed Liz said that you made sure that everybody knew he liked the video. Again, make sure you like the stream, man. That'll let the people know that we in the building. Get some more Giants fans in the building. My man Drew says Colts called on Banks and Shane didn't trade him. Raiders called on Neal and Shane didn't trade him. That was my last straw. Now listen, I didn't hear about the Neal thing. I heard about the Tay Banks. So this Raiders wanting Neal, possibly calling for Neal stuff, that's brand new to me. And the hairs on the back of my neck just stood up and my ears got hot because that pisses me off. I'm mad at you though too, Drew, because you said that was your last straw. I was already over Joe Shane. I was already over Joe Shane. That right there, people called on Neal and you didn't move him for what? Now you're just gonna let him walk for free. You could have got a 7 for him, in my opinion. I'm assuming that's what they were offering, a 7. Take the 7. We don't got no 7s anyway. And then I did hear about the Tay Banks deal, or the Tay Banks interest from the Colts. You got to make the move. Now, I understand that during that time, Cordell Flott was still in concussion protocol, so maybe that's why you don't make that move, because you don't know if Flott's going to be available. And then you look like a big dummy if you trade him and then, Flott's not back. But at the end of the day, right now, Banks is not in the future plans. I would assume he's not in the future plans. He's still under contract. But how much faith does this regime have in him? Now, also, depending on what happens with the regime, who knows what happens next year? Maybe somebody else, another coach can get in the building, which I got a couple of candidates that I might name later. But we got to get somebody in the building that can coach these players up, the ones that are a part of the plan for the future, for sure. PW Cho says having Flott and Holland back this week will help keep it close, hopefully. I'm excited about that. I'm excited we're getting Holland back. Hopefully that helps with the communication on the back end. But the funny thing about it is, you figure as far as snaps go, Belton was with Newbin last year. This is the first year with Holland, but you see that there's difference in the talent levels. And having Holland back is fantastic. And hopefully Newbin can finally step it up, because a lot of people are jumping ship on Newbin right now. I still got a little bit more faith in Newbin. I still believe that he's untapped and not playing to his potential, because I can't go against what I saw at Minnesota. The way he was playing at Minnesota, the way he used to bait quarterbacks, the way he was a ball hawk in Minnesota. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. Maybe it's the coaching. Who knows? Couch Coach Tommy says, good to see you, Dash. Good to see you too, Couch Coach. What's going on? How we doing? Wagner Charles in the building. Barry in the building. Giants for the win tomorrow. I hope so, Barry. I hope so. And that would be good too, because one of my favorite cousins. Shout out to my cousin Big J. He is a Bears fan. He already texted me today. Talking about, got to get prepared for that L tomorrow. Hit me with the bear down hashtag and all that stuff. So I can't wait for us to beat the Bears tomorrow so I can send that text back to him. Absolutely. Shout out to my cousin Big J. Coach D says maybe Dart gets us in the shootout. Possibly. I would rather take the lead early and put the commanders, good Lord, and put the Bears in obvious passing downs. I think that's our best bet because they showed last week that they can actually run the ball with Monungai. Shout out to Rutgers. Shout out to Jersey. Monungai ran the ball pretty well last week against the Bengals. And we already know where our defense, our run defense is. Not good. So if we can get out there and get a lead on the Bears, put them in obvious passing downs, then I think that's our best shot. I think that's a shootout, maybe, possibly, maybe. Mike Fanta says, loyalty, blue for life. That's a fact. He said, Coach says, who's the kicker? Young Quay Koo. They told me it's not Young Ho Koo because that's what I thought his name was. They told me Young Quay Koo, so I'm just gonna call him Koo. If I can't get his name right, I'm just gonna call him Koo because I know at least I got that part of his name right. Tony Benino in the building says, Big Dash, whether to win or lose, we still need a new GM and all of the coaches. Now, that's a fact. I do want to talk about the elevation from the practice squad. Obviously, we just talked about Koo. The other elevation was Ray McLeod. And the part that gets me about the whole Ray McLeod, and it's nothing to do with Ray McLeod, it's more to do with Little Jordan Humphrey. Now, if you noticed last week, Little Jordan Humphrey wasn't elevated. And if you didn't notice, he wasn't added to the 53. He's out of elevations from the practice squad, so he can no longer be elevated. He's already had his 3 elevations. So instead of just signing him to the 53, because we just saw that who got put on IR? Bo Collins just got put on IR. Why did you not make the move and sign Little Jordan Humphrey? And I'm thinking, like, why didn't they do that? And it's all about the money. You don't have enough money to sign Little Jordan Humphrey. Meanwhile, he's probably the best wide receiver option outside of Wan'Dale Robinson right now. I trust Little Jordan Humphrey right now more than I do Darius Slayton, and that's a shame. But that's the truth. At least that's my truth. That's how I feel right now. Now, Darius Slayton can go out there tomorrow and prove me wrong. I wish he would. I would love to eat crow saying that Darius Slayton has not been doing anything or living up to that contract. If you want to say that he's stealing money, that's fine. Listen, I want to be wrong. That's one. Listen, I'm never scared about being wrong. I wish I'm wrong. I wish I'm wrong right now about Darius Slayton. I need him to go out there and get a 100-yard game and a touchdown. Can I get that from Darius Slayton? Maybe. Still got hope. Still got dreams, right? Shout out to Montrell. He says, "You're Big Dash. How you doing? I'm doing fantastic, man. Hopefully you doing good too, man." Shout out to Montrell in the building. John Davis says barbecue chicken. Yeah, if we can't get the Caleb, it's barbecue chicken on the secondary for sure. I've been watching a couple of Chicago games, man. He been out there running around making plays. You know what I mean? They beat the Commanders. I think they beat Dallas, right? I think they beat Dallas too. And then they got Philly later on. So, you know, it is what it is. Luann says, let's just hope the defense didn't give up on Bowen. Oh, trust me. They gave up on Bowen. They out there playing for self. They playing for each other right now. I don't think that Bowen, well, to me, I told you last week, Bowen is weak in that Bernie's. They're just carrying a dead body around. That's exactly what Bowen is. I think they're playing for self. I think they're playing for each other. They're playing for the brother that's playing next to him. That's what I think this defense is about. Maybe, just maybe Shane Bowen, because you see it every once in a while, he might call a good game. I need him to finish though, because even with the Denver game, that he called a good game, didn't finish. So man, maybe this is one of those games where he finishes. Can Jackson Dart get his first away win? That's what I'm looking at. Thank you for the score, 3-10, Bama. Appreciate that. Coach E says if Banks went to Indy and balled out after, don't do that. Let's not do that. It might happen, but it won't happen. Because guess what? You still got him under contract. Banks is going to be here next year. It's not like you're going to unload him in the offseason. Maybe there's some interest by the time we get to the draft, but I don't know. I think he's stuck with him now. I think we're stuck with him. Shout out to Lucas Levinson says, Big Dash, I'm ready for a great stream, brother. Let's F and go, Big Blue. Now, that's a fact, man. I'm hoping for a good stream too, man. And you guys are a part of that. So if you guys are having a good time, I'm having a good time. That means the stream is a good one for sure. Shout out to George Boney with the $1.99 super chat. Just said, what up, Dash? What's going on, George? Thank you for the love and support. I do see the 49er jersey in the profile pic. Shout out to you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for vibing with us. Absolutely. My man Born for Sports is in the building. Salute Dash. Saturday Flow vibes. Cheers. We need to win tomorrow. That's a fact. If you are not subscribed to my man Born for Sports, a fantastic New York sports content creator, not just the Giants, make sure you go ahead and do that. And I didn't say that for my man at two Giant Goofballs. Make sure you subscribe to that channel as well. Shout out to Drew. Those guys do great work over there. Consistent work. Live all the time, putting on shows too. So make sure you guys show them some love too if you're not already subscribed to their channel. Make sure you go ahead and do that. Drew says Josina Anderson reported it, said the conversation was a week before the deadline. Wow. You got to trade Neal, man. Like, what are you doing? He can't even get a jersey. Like, what are you doing? You got to trade Neal. Anybody surprised that Hyatt wasn't on the move? I actually thought that he was probably the closest one to get traded. I thought, he requested a trade. Is what they were saying. Now we saw a report saying that he wanted to stay here. So I don't know which one is true, but he's saying that he wants to be here. And I'm surprised he didn't make that move. I thought he would have got a little bit of interest. If Banks can get interest, I thought Hyatt should be able to get some interest. But again, we got the squad is the same. The 53 is the 53. Outside of the people that were moved. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Drew says, I would have taken the 7th in 2045 for Neal, a Bobby Bonilla deal. Just way down the line. I don't even. You can pay me whenever. That's the kind of deal. You just take them. You know what? Just take them. You want to pay me in 50 years? We can do that. I ain't worried about it. I might not be here. Luann says, I didn't hear anything about Neal, and I'm on top of all the news. Like I said, I didn't hear anything about Neal either. But again, I've been a little bit out of the loop today. I got on some notes about the Colts and Tay Banks. But outside of that, I didn't see that Neal deal. So man, that's a good gem, good nugget to have. Appreciate Drew for that. Couch Coach Tommy says Banks talk was a decoy. They got Gardner, who they wanted. Okay, I mean it was a backup plan. You mean right? So if it would have fell through with Sauce Gardner, they would have went for Banks. I don't know. Did you see the Jets fans posting? I saw a clip. Actually, it was like a video. Obviously the Jets petty, but they got 2 first-round picks for Sauce. I don't know why they would be so petty, but somebody put out a collab of Sauce Gardner just getting cooked by wide receivers. I think it was like a minute and a half. Like, come on, man. You ain't got to be petty like that. Speaking of petty, I got to talk about some Giants fans being petty. I saw what was it? I don't know if it was a tweet. It might have been on Instagram. I saw where Graham Gano was talking about getting death threats. Now, listen, man, we can all be mad at Graham Gano, but we got to stop being petty to the point where you're actually sending out death threats. That's crazy. Death threats for a kicker? That's crazy. We better than that. Maybe we not better than that. Maybe we're not better than that because I've been seeing some crazy stuff from Giants fans out there. We got to stop being so petty, but hey, it is what it is. Montrell says, Big Dash, who's your head coach for the future? Brian Dable ain't it. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. I got a list of people. Definitely on the defensive side, though. Definitely on the defensive side. I want a defensive-minded head coach. That's what I want. All right. So Drew says, according to the reporter Josina Anderson, the Las Vegas Raiders had exploratory trade talks with the New York Giants about offensive lineman Evan Neal approximately 1 or 2 weeks. I mean, listen, it is what it is. They should have got rid of him. Again, I told y'all last week I would have traded him for a cat's pastrami sandwich. No doubt. Is it Q Burrow? Q Burrow brother says the Bears are going to test Banks. He better be prepared, even though Banks can't cover a mattress if he was a bed sheet. That's hilarious. Well, I was happy to get the news that Flock got through concussion protocol, so he's playing tomorrow. At least that's the last report I saw, that he made it through concussion protocol. So that's good news. Now the question is who's playing opposite side of him. Now, a lot of people will go straight to Banks, but has Corey Black done enough to be that guy, next to Flat as far as being CP2? Still not the best option, but, at least with Corey Black, we don't quite know exactly what we're gonna get. He could shock us. He could be better than what we think he is. Maybe some people think he's better. I don't know, but I'm curious to see how they handle it now. If I'm thinking with my head, it's gonna be Banks and Flat out there tomorrow. And with that being said, I'm praying that the pass rush gets home. He said, "Don't call him Young Ho." Yeah, that's what I thought his name was. And then I saw somebody say it's Young Hui, Young Wei, then Young Quay. I'm just calling him cool. I'm calling him cool. If he missed field goals tomorrow, I'm going to call him trash and get him off this team. So it is what it is. I'll get his name right once he start making these field goals. How about that? I'll make a conscious effort of learning the correct pronunciation of his name. Respectfully. Shout out to the Big Moo in the building. He says, "Yo, Big Dash, don't know why, but I'm looking forward to the game. Call me crazy, but I just want to see a good game." You know what it is. It's the Jackson Dart factor. You have a young up-and-coming quarterback, and you want to see him play. That's exactly what it is. That's what it is for me. And also, I'm still waiting on this breakout game from Abdul Carter. Those are the two things right now that got me like in this mode where, yeah, I still want to see these guys every week, because just imagine if it was still what's his name? If it was still Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito, you wouldn't be feeling this way. Even if you still had Neighbors on out there, he was healthy and all. The reason why we're tuning in right now, the reason why I'm tuning in, right? I'll speak for myself. I want to see Jackson Dart. I want to see Brian Burns keep taking the lead for the sack leader. I want to see him keeping up. I want to see Abdul Carter. I want to see the young Marcus Bowe. Now I believe Illuminor is playing, so we won't see Bowe, which is unfortunate. Not saying that I don't want to see Illuminor, but I do want to see Marcus Bowe get some snaps. Maybe they move him to guard because Van Roten's not in the future plans. I think at some point in time, everybody's going to say, you know what, let's see what these rookies can do, and I'm hoping so. Lucas says no Turbo. That's a fact. No Turbo again. Running out there with two running backs again. Pressing our luck again. Somebody got the weather report tomorrow in Chicago. Is it going to be windy? Is it going to be rainy? I believe that's what Justino said. Shout out to the Justino, who was on the Giants war room. I think he said it's supposed to be windy and rainy tomorrow. But somebody correct me on that, please. Our kicker situation is cuckoo. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Shout out to Phil. What's going on, Phil, with the $2 super chat? He says over under 2 drops for Theo. Start Bellinger. Well, I already believe that they should start Bellinger anyway. Bellinger should be the starter. Absolutely. But I think they're still going to run out with Theo. You know why? Because they don't like to be wrong. And that's the one thing about the Giants. They're going to keep running Theo out there. And I'm gonna say under 2 drops tomorrow. I'm gonna say under 2 drops tomorrow. You're most likely going to give you one though. It's going to be one. It's going to be one. He's good for one a game, so that's exactly what's going to happen. Shout out to George Boney again. $1.99 super chat said everybody hit the like button for Dash. I appreciate the love and support from a 49er fan. Salute to you. Loved it so much he did it twice. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Good luck to you guys tomorrow. You guys got the Rams tomorrow, right? I believe you guys got the Rams tomorrow. I think it's the Rams. I got to check my parlay to see. But I think it is the Rams. Shout out to Rain Guy. Is it Rain Geyer? He says Little Jordan Humphrey was easily the best wide receiver next to Neighbors since the preseason. That's why I don't understand why he didn't get added to the 53. Let's talk about it. Since we talking about roster moves and mishaps and poor management, let's talk about the GM. Let's talk about Brian Dable. So obviously the beat writers, and I do apologize. I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom of the comments section because I'm going to be lost if I don't do that. I'm going to be absolutely lost if I don't do that. So I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to ask you guys a question, man. Obviously, the beat writers are starting to throw out the idea of the New York Giants, Brian Dable and Joe Shane being a split ticket item, which means they possibly might not get fired together. I'm gonna ask you guys. You can say yes, no. You can, put your comments in there. I'm not going to restrict you guys to what you want to put in the comment section. It does one go? Does both go? Do both deserve to go? Should one be safe? Is one safer than the other? Let me know what you guys think about that. Let me know what you guys think about that. Shout out to my man Smooth in the building. What's going on, Smooth? He said Joe gotta go. That's that's easy, and that's bars. My man Drew says fire both. Montreal both deserve to go. Nah, that's a fact. That's a fact. New York State of Mind said both. I think it's both too. Shout out to my man Wells in the building. What's going on, Wells? He says they tried to get Hyatt in the second round. Yeah, I saw the video, but we knew that already. We knew that we saw that last year, and we didn't think anything of it because we still had a chance. We didn't think of Hyatt like the way we think about him now. So when we saw that, we were like, okay, maybe not type deal. Rev says both. Remy says just Joe and maybe Bowen. Maybe Bowen. Ain't no maybes when it comes to Bowen. Bowen is as good as gone. Bowen is definitely the one. For sure. Like that's yeah. Q Burrow says both need to be gone. Shane hired Dable. Listen, it is what it is. John Davis said both should go. Luann, not surprised by this comment. Actually, both should stay. I don't know what you need to see, Luann. I don't know what you need to see. The Big Move says fire Dabes and Bowen. Shane can stay for some stability. If you need stability, just keep Brandon Brown if you need stability. And how much stability? Like when we say the stability, what are we stabilizing? What do we stabilize? The same thing when it comes to Brian Dable and all these people arguing for Brian Dable to stay because of Jackson Dart. When I argue against that, I don't need Brian Dable here for Jackson Dart. Did you guys see what Lane Kiffin said? He said it's too cold in New York. When they asked him about the opportunity of coaching Jackson Dart with the Giants, he said it's too cold in New York for him. That's hilarious. Keep Dable. Okay, so you're getting rid of. So you made a decision to get rid of Shane, then, right? So you're not saying both should stay. Say keep Dable. Shane can leave. Ronald says decide after the season. Are you saying that you still need time to decide after the season, or are you just saying that's what the Giants should do? They shouldn't do anything right now, and they should just wait till the end of the season. That's what you're saying, Ronald? Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's what you mean. John says both. Couch Coach Tommy. I get tongue-tied every time. Couch Coach Tommy. I want to say Couch Tommy, but it's Couch Coach Tommy. Dable's a dead man walking. Shane might make a case, but I'm not sure if he stays. Very bad scouting is what Wells said. Listen, man. Yeah, it's bad. So what Wells is referring to is the clip about the draft when guys were in the war room for the draft, and they were at the second round pick, and they were going back and forth on whether or not to take Hyatt or to take John Michael Schmitz in the second round. Ultimately, we already know how it goes. They took John Michael Schmitz. Luckily for them, in that point in time, not Wandell Sheesh, Jalen Hyatt was still there in the third round. They actually traded away their fourth round in that draft to trade up to take Hyatt, and then they're ready to give up on him, or they don't even bother trying to use him or get him targets. And that's the crazy part for me, because they gave JMS every chance in the world, because we were ready to throw JMS out with the bathwater last year, but he still got chances and all this other stuff. But when it came to Jalen Hyatt, as soon as he did some things you didn't like, which happened in the second season, not even in the second season, because he was actually making some. Well, no, I'm lying. So in that second season, he like disappeared. Neighbors came. All the focus was on Neighbors. Jalen Hyatt became an afterthought, put him on the back burner, similar to what they did with Daniel Bellinger. And the rest is history. And now we're sitting here. We didn't trade him. And now we got Jalen Hyatt still stuck on this team. Maybe he's disgruntled. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's still waiting for his chance. But it is what it is. Shout out to Coach D, says both. BOFF, both. Both can go. That's a fact. So for me, both can go. If you wanted to get rid of Brian Dable right now, fine. I'm fine with that. I believe that Shane Bowen should have been fired weeks ago. You already have a guy with DC experience on the defensive staff right now. And then, of course, if you fire Dable, it's most likely interim Mike Kafka. He's already the assistant head coach. So you still have that stability, I guess, that people are looking for. And then when it comes to Joe Schoen again, Brandon Brown is in the building. Brandon Brown has been his number 2 since he got here. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I know this. I know Brandon Brown came from a good system. We stole him from Philadelphia, and we know how good that GM is over there. The rare times that I actually give Philadelphia credit for anything. But so he learned from good stock. So, give these guys a chance for real. Smooth says no split. You don't throw on one shoe. You don't throw. Hold on. You don't throw one shoe on a wire like that. I get that. Shout out to Mark Thompson in the building. Says keep bringing the great content. Dable for sure on the fence with Shane. A lot of people on the fence with Shane. The fan, like the New York radio station. Was a GW fan. The fan. Those guys, man, like the daytime crew, they want everybody going, and then you get to the nighttime crew, they want to keep Dable. I can't say they, but what's the guy's name? Michael McCognell, something like that. I can't get his name right, but he was the one talking about Dable. And then the funny thing is, he kind of switched his stance a little bit. And now it's all about what this game looks like tomorrow. Like if tomorrow's game is the deciding factor for you, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting to see? What does beating the Bears do tomorrow? Like, obviously, I want to win. And I'm really asking everybody. I'm really, like, outside of feeling good, outside of getting a win, which is fantastic for me. Like, I'll take victories, especially since we got a quarterback. I'm not worried about tankathon. I'm not worried about having the first overall pick. Why? Because I already got a quarterback. So I can root for wins still, because I still think we pick in top 10 anyway. Unless we go on some fantastic run like Luann is talking about. But I don't know about that. I ain't got that type of faith right now. One game at a time. But yeah, man, for me, I don't know. Bourbon Cigars Conversations 1708. What's going on, good brother? He says clean house, hire Antonio Pierce for DC, hire Brandon Brown for GM, and get a strong head coach. So we might as well get right into the segue. Let's talk about some coaching candidates. And before I do that, I'm going to ask you guys a question about Bill Belichick. Everybody's talking about Bill Belichick. Some people said we need to get Bill Belichick back here so he can fix the Giants. I need to know from you guys, man. Leo Luca, what's going on? I see you in the chat. I need to know from you guys, man. The whole Bill Belichick thing. I want to know how many people are down with this whole Bill Belichick thing, and then I'll give you my thoughts on that. John Davis said he's with promoting Brandon Brown. Listen, I would see Kafka right now as an interim. I will see Brandon Brown as an interim, because guess what? If you do fire Joe Schoen and Brian Dable, most likely both of those guys get an interview. Brandon Brown probably gets an interview. Because if we already know that Mara doesn't want to just shake everything up, if you keep Brandon Brown, you're most likely going to keep a lot of that staff intact. Now, is the issue the staff, or is the issue with the main decision maker with Joe Schoen? I think these guys can still evaluate talent. I think the scouts are the scouts. They just give you information on their region. So I don't think you fire the whole scouting department or anything like that. But the main person making the decisions, and if it's Joe Schoen and a collection or a collective with Brian Dable, then that's one thing. Maybe Brandon Brown fits then if you like his player selection better. But we don't know, because we don't know how much is Brandon Brown. We don't know how much is Joe Schoen. We know a little bit about how much Brian Dable is. We know Brian Dable wanted Jackson Dart, and that might have been the only thing he's been right about in a long time, because he wanted Jalen Hyatt and then ended up not using him. He wanted John Michael Schmitz, and by the grace of God, John Michael Schmitz is actually playing well this year. I think a lot of that has to do with the quarterback as well. A lot of that has to do with Carmen Brasillo too. If this regime gets knocked down, if this regime gets burnt to the ground, I would love for Carmen Brasillo to still be here as offensive line coach. Would love that. There's always a survivor. There's always somebody that comes back from the staff. There's always somebody that they keep from the old staff in most occasions. And Carmen Brasillo is probably going to be one of those bright spots for us. If we do get a new coach, I'm hoping that, they decide to keep Carmen Brasillo on staff. Hopefully he has enough connections. Seems like it. And that's what I'm looking for. Wells says Gruden would make this kid a Hall of Famer. Oh boy, that's another. I didn't even want to get there yet. I just let me get to these Bill Belichick comments. Hold on, because I know y'all got to say something about Bill. Let's talk about Bill. Nobody said anything about Bill yet. Bowen's still here. Makes zero sense. Now that's a fact. Luann says, Dash, think about this. Does it make sense to give Dable his last year, especially that Dart, Scatterable, and Neighbors will be together, and see what happens after next year? Just think about the decision making that he does right now, and then if he's going into his final year, his final contract year, the type of pressure he'll be dealing with then, because you definitely know you don't have a job moving forward. Right now, he knows. Right now, he has a contract. He's still going to get paid, even if we do fire him or not, and he's making these crazy decisions. So, what difference does it make? What difference does it make? We got Jackson Dart right now playing well, and we're still losing games. And that's so think about it like this, right? You told me to think about it like this. I'm going to tell you to think about it like this. Take Jackson Dart out of the equation. The other 52 players on the team, is Brian Dable good for those other 52 players? That's my question. Two Giant Goofball says, we got two, Patterson and Manuel. I forgot Patterson called plays. Was that when he was in Minnesota for a little bit? Was that when he was in Minnesota? Maybe, possibly. But Marquand Manuel was a guy that I was talking about. So thank you very much, Drew, for letting me know that also Patterson. That's a fact. Patterson does. Patterson kind of rubbed me the wrong way when he paused, when he was talking about Dexter Lawrence and he brought up all the stats trying to defend the poor play from Dexter Lawrence and stuff like that. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Why'd you have to go to the stat guy? And also now I know the stat guy's name because of Andre Patterson. We know that the stat guy that they go to, his name is Deion. I was on LinkedIn trying to find out who Deion was. I couldn't find Deion on LinkedIn. And that's a fact. I really tried to do that just to try to see who this guy Deion was in feeding all these stats to these coaches to help defend what I can see with my own two eyes, that Dex don't look like Dex yet. I don't need stats. I don't need PFF to tell me that Dexter Lawrence doesn't look the same. Now, why? There's you can have a million reasons to why he doesn't look the same. But I'm just saying, we've been watching Dex. We've been watching Dex for a while now. Dex don't look like Dex yet. I hold my hands up like you can't change my mind. You can't. Shout out to Rom Dre with the $10 super chat. Says if Shane tries to throw Daves under the bus, then no credible head coach will want to come here to be the next scapegoat. Joe played himself. Yeah, he did. And he thinks that's a good luck. Now, listen. That's why I think you need to clean house completely. Because I think the New York Giants, just the team, the roster with some of the players that we have here and the players coming back, very desirable for the next head coach. The only thing that does hinder that, and I agree with you, Ramdre, is Joe Shane. To me, then Joe Shane becomes the lame duck. And now we've learned from this in the past too. With Jerry Reese. Now Tom Coughlin gets fired. They keep Jerry Reese. McAdoo gets promoted. They fire both of those guys together. And then Dave Gettleman gets here, hires Pat Shurmur. Pat Shurmur gets fired. They keep Gettleman. Gettleman hires Joe Judge. And then they get fired. Like, clean house. If you're going to clean house. If you don't have the stomach for it, if you don't have the energy for it to do that, let somebody else do it for you. Thank you very much, Ramdre, with the $10 super chat. C Bones with the $9.99 super chat says, these dudes are astute at controlling a narrative and conditioning fans to accept losing. That's a fact. Zoom out. Shane destroyed player morale, and Dable made us the most unattractive coaching job. I don't think it's unattractive though. I think when you look at this team, do you have what you think is the future franchise quarterback? Check. Neighbors, do you have number one wide receiver? Check. Do you have a running back? Check. When it comes Scatterable coming back. When you look on the defensive side, you got players like Burns. You got Dexter Lawrence. And even though I just said Dex don't look like Dex, Dexter Lawrence is still a player here. Now there's some holes still. I think the linebacker play needs to get better. I wish Micah McFadden didn't get hurt in the first game of the season. You see Darius Mousau just got put on the IR, so there's a lot of holes here too. And then when you look at the secondary, it's like the only person we got is Cordell Flott, and he's 160 pounds. And we saw what a right hook can do to him. He lost 2 games over a right hook. Well, almost 2 games. Like, what are we talking about here? So but I do think it's still a desirable location or destination to coach if you get Joe Schoen out of there. Because, again, Joe Schoen has proven, and then we'll see in December when the hard knocks start again, just that he's in over his head, just like Brian Dable's in over his head. That's it. I saw, who was it? It was Tiki Barber. Tiki Barber was talking about Brian Dable, said it's nothing about him being a coach. He's a great offensive coordinator. He's a great coach, but he's just not a good head coach. And I agree with that 100%. 100%. Appreciate the love and support from both of you guys, too. Appreciate the love and support from the chat as well. Shout out to 167 people in the building. Again, make sure you hit that like button on the way in. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Wales says, we gotta be concerned about the next coach, though, 2026, who we want. I notice, and I'm not saying you're saying this right now. I notice whenever I say, fire the head coach, and this is mainly on Twitter too, when I get this comment. Well, who's the next person going to be? Who do you have in mind? When we were ready to get rid of Joe Judge, did anybody care about who the next person was going to be? When we were getting rid of Pat Sherman, did anybody care who the next person was going to be? When we get rid of Ben McAdoo, did anybody care who the next person was going to be? You didn't care. You just needed that person out of the building. Everything else will work itself out. I can't listen. I'm just a guy. I'm just a fan. Your guess is as good as mine. And with that being said, I'm gonna get into some of these coaches. And actually, did I see? There we go. Finally, some in. No for Bill. Montreal says no for Bill. James Worthy says with what OC? It don't even matter. I just don't want Bill in the building. Q Burrow says no Bill. My man Drew says, how is that working in UNC? That's a fact. Somebody was arguing with me today. They said, he doesn't even care about UNC. If he came back to the Giants, he would absolutely care. I said, whoa. You believe that for real? That man is 73 years old. He running around with a freaking girlfriend, his granddaughter's age. He ain't worried about football no more. You got to be kidding me. He just got worried about getting up in the morning, man. Respectfully. I'm not doing this Bill thing. Xavier says hell no to Bill. Isaac says hell no. Boat Josh, what's going on? Boat Josh says Brian Flores and Mike McDaniel as the OC. That's close. I'm working on a video right now of my whole, not even my whole coaching staff, but my head coach, OC in DC. And I'll share a couple of those with you. Goldie says no, too old. That's a fact. Born for Sportsman, looking at my notes, he says Halfley, Minter, Kingsbury, Kubiak, Shula. Shula is the offensive coordinator for the Rams, close to one of the persons that I'm looking at. Definitely is a guy on the Rams staff that I'm definitely, and he's under the radar right now. Under the radar. Kubiak is also Clint Kubiak, son of Gary Kubiak. He's also on the offensive side. Kingsbury, obviously we're familiar with Kingsbury. I don't know about Kingsbury. But again, right now it's about getting these guys out of the building. Halfley is going to be a top name. Mentor, defensive coordinator with the Chargers, is going to be a top name as well. Halfley is the defensive coordinator with the Green Bay Packers. Yep. Couch Coach Simon says no chance. No for Bill. No for Bill. Thank you very much. Bill married his good Lord. Yeah. It is with no to Tar Heel Bill. That's the other thing too, man. Like if this was Bill from like 6 years, not even 10 years ago, even if it was like 6 years ago, Bill Belichick, then I might be interested. But listen, once Tom Brady left, and I'm not saying Tom Brady is responsible for all Super Bowls, but he played a big part in it. Bill Belichick is a fantastic coach. Point blank period. Fantastic coach, and he does get the best out of his players. He's just too old now. Sometimes it just passes you by. Sometimes the ship sailed. And I think the ship has sailed on Bill Belichick. I really do. I think he jumped into college football because actually I don't know why he did it. He shouldn't have did it. Because I think they won today, though. At least they won today. But nah, it's not for me. Not for me. I want to get to this next name, though. Because this one, I go back and forth on John Gruden. That's the name, John Gruden. I go back and forth on John Gruden. I'm curious to see what you guys say about John Gruden. Now, everybody fell in love with the video that he had on YouTube when he was interviewing. I forget, it was like the quarterback show or whatever, when he had Jackson Dart on the show. And it's funny too, because everything that John Gruden was saying to Jackson Dart was absolutely true. Said you play like a maniac, and it's absolutely true. We can't reel it in now either, man. He is what he is. He does need to be able to slide and get out of bounds, though. He needs to whatever is in him, pause, that makes him think that he can just run over safeties and run over linebackers and do. He has to slow that down a little bit. I know what his pop said. That's just him. He's a winner. If you want to continue to win, get out of bounds. What Pop's saying Friday, you live to fight another day. I need Jackson Dart to live to fight another play. That's what has to happen. But John Gruden, let me know what you guys think about John Gruden. You say Gruden turned into a meme. That is a fact. That is a fact. That's crazy, purist. It says Bill's making out under the bleachers at UNC. That's crazy. That's crazy. Carmen needs to stay. Priscilla Patterson should stay. I told you Patterson rubbed me the wrong way just a little bit. But Patterson is a fantastic coach. Speaking of Patterson, man, I'm going to talk about Darius Alexander. He got to play more. I think Darius Alexander should be playing over Nacho for sure. I think he should be playing over Nacho. We got to see these rookies play. Those are the future of the team. He's one of those guys. He's the future. Darius Alexander, and he can play. James Words says rubbed the wrong way is crazy. Yeah, I had to pause that. I had to put a pause on that for sure. Had to. I had to put a pause on that one, man, for sure. Ronald says Dable can't even get the kicking game corrected. Listen, and that's just not him. I can't even put that all on Dable. That's Joe Shane too, man. When I found out that Joe Shane had that much control, I guess maybe not control, influence. That's a better word. That he had that much influence on who's playing on Sunday. Yeah. And then and again, the little Jordan Humphrey thing. Something as small as that, not having enough money to sign somebody to the 53 that could actually help your quarterback. So instead you go get Ray McLeod. Come on. And we saw, I don't want to get started on last week, but we saw what happened with Ray McLeod. He was only here for a week. He got a bunch of snaps. He didn't know any of the plays. Any of the plays are saying too much, but I'm trying to put some emphasis on it. He was lost out there for the most part. And then you got little Jordan Humphrey. You got Jalen Hyde that I don't even think he got an offensive snap because I didn't go back and watch that game. I'll admit that. I didn't go back and watch the 22 of that game last week. For what? Luann says Dex is fed up with losing. I would be too. You know what's the best thing about it? After a big loss like that, you get to the locker room, and then you see that check. You see that check. Well, everything's electronic deposit, but when you see that pay stub on your seat after that loss, it probably makes you feel a little bit better. Now, for the fans, we don't have that check. We don't get a check after a loss. You know what we get after a loss? People talking trash, text messages saying you suck from people that you hate. That's what happens as fans. We don't get a check when we lose. Not at all. Shout out to Rev1310 with the $2 super chat. No comment, but I appreciate the love and support. As always, Rev, shout out to you. C Bones with the $4.99 super chat says, Dash, let me clarify, as long as Dable is here, assistant coaching talent will never come here. I figured. Dude is an insecure tyrant. That's a fact. NFL is a small circle. 100%. You're knocking it out of the park. Why was it so hard to get the defensive coordinator? Speaking of that, when we were looking for a defensive coordinator, one guy that was actually close to getting that job was Denard Wilson, and he chose the Titans over coming to New York. He felt like the Titans were a better situation. That coach gets fired. He most likely is not going to return to the Titans next year, and I think he would have worked wonders here with us. I really do. I really do. Shout out to my man Jay Ferris. Where you been, Jay Ferris? Where you been? How you doing, man? He says, I want to know where your boy Russ is, where Hyatt is. Why did AI turn you into Mark Ingram on that thumbnail? You bullish for 2026. Look like Mark Ingram on the thumbnail? Yeah, maybe. You saw what happened with Russ. You saw what happened. You disappeared for a little bit too, because after that Dallas game, you disappeared for a little bit, Jay Ferris, for a little bit. But you were right. You were right. You were absolutely right with Russ. You were right when you said Jackson Dart should start. Now, as far as where Hyatt is wherever Brian Dable tells him to be. And he's not telling him to be on the field. That's where he is. That's exactly where he is. The last time we saw Jalen Hyatt in the game, he had 4 catches for 17 yards, 2 first downs. That's the last time we saw him. Yep. And then, Mark Ingram, that's a thumbnail. AI is AI. Maybe I look like Mark Ingram a little bit. I might. But shout out to my man Jay Ferris, man. How you been, brother? McCarthy. Isaac says McCarthy. A lot of people say McCarthy. A lot of people say, at least with McCarthy, you know what you're getting with McCarthy. And that's my issue with McCarthy. McCarthy had arguably the best quarterback in that time frame in Aaron Rodgers. All those years at Green Bay, got 1 Super Bowl out the deal, right? And a bunch of one and dones in the playoffs. And then you saw him at Dallas. Yes, the offense was humming. But again, it's Mike McCarthy. You see, it kind of runs thin and then he's gone. I don't want to do that with the New York Giants. The guy that I want for the New York Giants, I want the ideal coach for me, not saying a name, but the ideal coach, just the idea of it, is a guy that can be here for the next decade. The next decade. For as long as Jackson Dart is here, I want this coach to be here. I want a Tomlin Roethlisberger type of situation, man. I want an Andy Reid Mahomes type of situation. And just think about it. Mike Tomlin was a first-time head coach when he got that job with Pittsburgh. Andy Reid wasn't when he got the job at Kansas City. So either way, because people argue they don't want to do a one first-time head coach again. Just think about it this way. When you say, I don't want a first-time head coach again, just think about every successful head coach in the league was a one-time head coach at one point in time. It's all about just picking the right guy. The New York Giants have not picked the right guy since Tom Coughlin. And that's just the truth. You figure Pat Shurmur had experience. Was awful. McAdoo, first-time head coach. Awful. Joe Judge, first-time head coach. Awful. Brian Dable, first-time head coach. Awful. Like, you gotta pick the right one. Now, we hit with Tom Coughlin. That was his second time getting a head coaching job. We got him from Jacksonville. He turned that program around. That's a proven talent there. Because he did that from scratch, too. But to me, it's like McAdoo with the Walmart suit. That was crazy. Remember, then the next year he went to the slick back hairdo. Remember that? He he came back Italian in the second year and got fired. Did I miss a pause? If I missed a pause, I apologize. Getting up in the morning is a pause? Really? Getting up in the morning? I can't. See, now I don't want to say it again because maybe it is a pause. I missed one. Okay. 2 Giant Goofball Drew said, you think Flores would come here while suing the Giants? No. I think if you throw a big bag of money in front of them and settle that lawsuit, which they are going to do, they're going to end up settling that lawsuit outside of the court because right now it's going to be a public hearing, which the NFL doesn't want. I think they're going to end up settling. And then at that, I'm throwing a big bag of money at Brian Flores. And hopefully Brian Flores can bring Josh McCown with him as an OC. I would love that. For sure. Luann says, bring back Parcells. Laugh with the laughing emoji. Yeah. If you're going to bring back Belichick, you might as well bring back Nah, we can't do that, man. We cannot do that. We can't do that. Oh, man. Bo Josh says, hell no. John Gruden looked terrible for the Raiders. Man, they got him up out of there quick, too. They saw those emails, and they got John Gruden out of there with a bunch of money. He had what was it? It was a 10-year, $100 million contract that he had with the Raiders, and I think he was going after 2. He's still getting paid. At least I think so. Unless there was something in his contract saying if he does something that's detrimental to the team, he doesn't get his money. New York State of Mind says Gruden is overrated. The one thing about John Gruden, like we already know that Brian Dable has, it's a tough offense to learn, right? tough cadences, all that other stuff, right? It's a whole color system where this color means this, that color means that. Have you heard John Gruden call plays? It's like another language. Another Get me somebody in here. I don't want a simple offense, but I want a simplified offense as far as terminology and stuff like that. And John Gruden, for me, again, I think the game has passed him by. Game has passed him by, in my opinion. In my opinion. Do I think he would be better than what we got right now? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it is what it is. Frank says, I'm all in on John Gruden with a bunch of exclamation points. I hear you. I hear you. Giant Goofball says, no way Giants hire Gruden because of the email stuff. Yeah, we just talked about that. Leo Lucas says, no to Gruden. Special Kalen says Gruden will lose the locker room too easily. Yeah, listen, man. Times are different, man. I don't know how old everybody is that's in this chat. Obviously, I'm an 80s baby. Some of you in here are 80s baby. Some people born before the 80s. So y'all know. Some 90s babies too. Y'all know. It's different. These players are different. They react different to different things. We saw 2 weeks ago, Carl Banks, when he called out Dexter Lawrence, and everybody and their mother was upset about it. Stop enabling people. Stop being an enabler. My coach would yell in your face before practice, just to yell in your face, just to warm up. Just grab you by the face mask and yell in your face. Nowadays, you can't do that. People don't react well to that. I don't know why. It just is what it is. And John Gruden is the type. John Gruden might turn off a lot of players. Pause. He might rub people the wrong way. Pause. James Fraser says Joe Shane must go. Listen, nobody's safe. None are safe. That's a fact. Wales says Gruden got knowledge to make this kid great. I believe he has all the knowledge in the world. I do believe that. I just don't like him as a head coach as far as controlling the whole team. That's my deal. Like a lot of even Brian Dable is knowledgeable. Like Brian Dable's, he's not a dummy. He's just not a head coach. He can't manage the entire team. I do believe that Brian Dable could manage Jackson Dart. I absolutely believe that. That's what he's doing right now. All he's doing is managing Jackson Dart. But he's also, fighting for his life as far as his job. So at the end of games, he's just making poor decisions. You can't leave Jackson Dart. These last two games, these last two losses, you can't leave Jackson Dart in the fourth quarter, 2 minutes left, and let him take that kind of beating. We saw him on the sideline. He was holding his shoulder after that game. Like, did that garbage touchdown really help you that much? No, it didn't change anybody's mind on Brian Dable being awful. Making it a 10-point game instead of a 17-point game, it didn't change my mind on Dable. And hopefully it didn't change your mind on Dable either. A Dad's Life says, I only kind of like Gruden. I only kind of. That's funny. He says, I like that he loves Dart, and I think he'd find some good talent, but I think he might be too old, just like Bill. Listen, it is what it is, man. You got. Listen, I want somebody give me somebody off the Sean McVay tree. Now I'm gonna throw something out here that I've been hearing. I'm not saying like this is a rumor. This is just something that I was thinking about, and some other people were talking about. Sean McVay has teased on wanting to be an executive. Getting off of the field, getting up into, as far as being the decision maker, which I believe he's already the decision maker right now. With the Rams, but Sean McVay, I think eventually he becomes a GM somewhere. He gets off of the sideline, becomes a GM somewhere. I would love for that to happen. But also, we got bad blood when it comes to Sean McVay. His grandfather got fired by the Giants, and there's some type of 30-year-old, 40-year-old grudge that's going on or something like that. Might even been older than that, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But I would love Sean McVay to be like a GM. Evaluating talent, he's fantastic at it. Just a brilliant football mind, and I do mean that. He's like Rain Man when it comes to football. It's crazy. But when you look at his coaching tree, and he kind of comes from that same, like that Shanahan tree and that McVay tree, is very similar. Now, it's crazy to me when I think about it. All these guys were together with the Washington Redskins at the time when they were still the Washington Redskins. You had all these guys under, what's John Gruden's brother's name? Whatever. The Gruden that was coaching the Redskins. I can't remember his name right now. What's John Gruden's brother's name? Anyway, He had Shanahan on that staff. He had McVay on that staff, and look what that coaching staff turned into. Now it didn't help them at all. It didn't help them at all when it came to the Washington Commanders or Redskins at the time. But just look what that staff turned into. Now Shanahan has his own tree. McVay has his own tree. They're swapping coaches out and all this other stuff. It's crazy. It's crazy. But I need somebody off that tree. I need somebody that's a little bit of a nerd but still loves football at the same time. Not saying you got to be all with the analytics, but I need you to be a little bit forward thinking when it comes to what the NFL is turning into. Because when you look at a guy like Jackson Dart and Malik Neighbors, you can't run 1980s, 1990s, early 2000s New York Giants football. We don't have that type of roster. So when you say, oh, we need Bill Belichick, oh, we need Gruden, this ain't the 2000 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is not the 1990 New York Giants. This is 2025. So we gotta look at something new instead of trying to go back to being the old Giants. We can't do that. As much as we want to be, I would love to be the old Giants again, but no, it's not working. And every time we try to do something like that, it blows up in our faces. Pause. Flavor Ed says, Coach Gruden all day. Some people love that Gruden idea. Some people love it. I mean, it is what it is. New York State Mind said no to McCarthy. All right, there we go. Alex. Is it Alex LaRocca? Says Jesse Minter for head coach, defensive minded. Jesse Minter is absolutely on my list. Jesse Minter, Jeff Hafley. Now, the guy that I want people to actually look into a little bit is he's an assistant head coach also. His name is Aubrey Pleasant. He's with the Rams. And he is defensive minded, played on the defensive side. He was a former player. But Aubrey Pleasant is on my radar right now. Now, some people might say it's too early for Aubrey Pleasant. You know, he doesn't have enough experience. I take actions. I think actions are louder than words. Sean McVay, with all those great coaches on his staff right now, you got Shula on his staff right now. You know, with all these guys that are on that roster or on that staff, the last two seasons, in the preseason, again, this is preseason, Sean McVay went to Aubrey Pleasant and said, hey, you're going to be the head coach for this game. And to the point where he wasn't even on the sideline. He was up in the booth. And Aubrey Pleasant did everything. The meeting with the refs at the beginning of the game, the managing of the game, the timeouts, all this stuff. Aubrey Pleasant and did a good job. He did it. I think both games were against the Chargers in 2024, 2025. He has been bred to be a head coach. Now, again, he has not been a coordinator at all. And some people might look at that like, well, no, he don't got the experience. But when we talk about it, somebody that's ready to coach the entire team, you know, because when we hire these coordinators, what do? They lean to whatever side they come from, whatever background they come from. Do we really need that? And sometimes it does work when it comes to a head coach. But for me, I need somebody that's able to coach the entire team and has the experience to coach the entire team. And yes, it was just 2 games. But if Sean McVay is pointing out somebody, and again, I have all the respect in the world for Sean McVay's, you know, football IQ. If he's pointing to this guy as a possible, you know, someone that can be a possible head coach, I got to look at that. But he is on my list, not on a lot of people's radars. At least I would say that. I saw some people complain because when I throw that name out there, some people said, well, he got fired from the Detroit Lions because he was yelling at the player on the sideline. And then to come to find out, I went back and did some research, and I saw how other content creators, Lions content creators, responded to the firing of Aubrey Pleasant, and they hated it. He was holding a player accountable, and he got fired for it. Now, some people said it was a scapegoat because at the time, Jeff Okudah was looking like trash. Secondary was looking like trash. And other people said that he was said that they fired Aubrey Pleasant in order to protect Aaron Glenn from being fired, which that was a shock to me. So with all these names that we're throwing out here, again, Jesse Minter is on my list. Jeff Hafley is on my list. If you guys get a chance to look up Aubrey Pleasant, make sure you guys go ahead and look up that. But I think he got some qualities. I don't think it happens this time around, but I won't be surprised in like 2 or 3 years you see Aubrey Pleasant as a head coach, upcoming head coach somewhere for sure. Let's see. Shout out to Special Kalen, new member. Welcome to the Big Blue Nation. Appreciate the love and support. Welcome to the family. Special Kalen also with the $5 super chat says Rex got next. Come on now. Rex got next. Oh man, come on now. Rex Ryan. one thing I'll say about Rex Ryan, you wouldn't have to worry about players dogging it if you had Rex Ryan on the staff. Whether it was a head coach, coordinator, you wouldn't have to worry about anybody dogging it if Rex Ryan is a head coach. I like the aggressiveness. I like the bravado of a Rex Ryan. And it's funny too because like Rex Ryan to me, like everybody says Brian Dable's attitude matches Jackson Dart, but I think an even better match would be Rex Ryan's style of just his the type of person he is probably fits Dart even more than Dable, but he's a defensive guy, so does it really make sense? I don't know. But Rex Ryan falls into that category now too. It's like, is he too old? Has it passed him by? It looks like he'll take any job that anybody would give him. Really, truly. I don't know. I don't know about that. I would look into that though, but I don't know. Me personally, I wouldn't do it. If I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't do it. I was trying to be nice and said I would research it. No, I wouldn't do it. A lot of red flags when it comes to Rex, in my opinion. But I do believe what I said though, that he would hold people accountable for sure. And I do think his mindset is similar to what Jackson Dart is. Two Giant Goofball says he better not do Dart what he did to Tua. That was oh yeah, you talking about Flores? Scares me about Flores. Okay, so I missed the conversation. Well, we knew for a fact that he didn't like Tua, and now that we're what 3 years from that now, 3 years, 4 years from that now. What was that? That was 4 years ago. Now it's like, was Brian Flores right about Tua? Was he right about Tua? Matter of fact, roll tide on that. Let me know what the score is, somebody, please. Brian Flores was right about Tua. Now that we, hindsight's 2020. They chose Tua over Brian Flores, and we already talked about all the other shady stuff that the Dolphins head coach, not the head coach, owners were trying to do. They were trying to tank and all the other stuff. He wasn't into it, and it was just a bad relationship that spoiled. That is right, Bo Josh. John Murray did want Flores. He did want Flores. Joe Shane talked him into Brian Dable. That's a fact. Fades says, are we cooked tomorrow? No, I don't think we cook tomorrow. I don't think we'll cook tomorrow. You said Brett Bielema, he got fired? Brett Bielema got fired? Or would be fired? Oh, Brett Bielema. We had Brett Bielema in what was it? He was part of Joe Judge's staff, and then he took the Illinois job. I think he was here he might have been here for 3 weeks before he took that Illinois job. I thought that was funny because he came here. I think he was going to be the linebackers coach. I think he was the linebackers coach, and then we found out he took the job in Illinois. I think it was Illinois, right? Brett Bielema went. I think it was Illinois that he went to. He's doing a good job at Illinois. But you said Brett Bielema would be fired, huh? I'm going to say something. I wouldn't mind my next head coach being in shape. And I'm a big guy, I wouldn't mind my next head coach being in shape. Just saying. Just saying. Wouldn't mind it at all. Well said the liberals showed up tonight. What happened? What I miss? Miz, what's going on, Miz? Shout out to the Miz, man. Miz says, yo, Big Dad's Gruden is a winner. Gruden is a winner. I think Gruden is a head coach, but is he still relevant right now? That's my biggest deal. Is he still relevant? Can he last a 10 years? Like I said, I want to hit the next head coach. I want to hit, and I want him to be here for a long time. I'm leaning more towards a younger coach. We'll see what happens, though. We'll see what happens. Will says that's the unstable table, Dable. Gruden would manage it better. I mean, hey. As far as being a head coach, absolutely. As far as being a head coach, John Gruden laps Brian Dable as far as being a head coach. I'm just saying, for me, is it a good match to the personalities in the locker room? These are younger kids. I call them kids because I'm older. These are younger kids. They don't react to the same types of motivation. Can Gruden's style of motivation motivate these younger players now? I think we would have got a better idea of it if he would have stayed a little bit longer with the Raiders before, what happened. But it is what it is. Freezing weather and snow showers. Come on, man. Don't tell me that, Miz. Snow showers? That sucks. Snow showers tomorrow, right? That sucks. We don't got the type of running backs. Jay Gruden, that's what it was. John and Jay, thank you. You see how far behind I am right now. What is that? 8:02 and it's 8:11. Yeah, Jay Gruden, that was his name. Appreciate that. You guys are the best. Oh boy, Clifton Harris says Jackson Dart equals Mike Glennon. Clifton. Man. That's crazy. I'm going to just say Cliff, that's crazy. Jackson Dart equals Mike Glennon. That's crazy. Cliff, you remember what Mike Glennon looked like. Come on. Come on, Cliff. Stop it. Please stop it. Lane Kiffin. I told you Lane Kiffin said it's too cold. Said it's too cold in New York. He ain't coming out here. Come on, let's be respectful. Rest in peace, Jim Fossil. Please don't hire Rex. Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I'm saying, Isaac. We got to be respectful. Jim Fossil, rest in peace. Be respectful. Rex Ryan can manage a game better than Brian Daboll. I believe so. Absolutely. I can't do Rex, though. I can't do it. Ron J says Brashillo should stay. He has the O-line playing decent. I think they would keep him. I hope so. Cliff said, "Oh, now I see what's going on, Cliff. Cliff, you're letting it, you're letting it show now." Pause. Giants Daniel Jones equals trash. Colts Daniel Jones equals MVP candidate. Must be the city. Well, was it tomorrow they play in London against Atlanta Falcons, right? We saw what he looked like against the Steelers. That's only one game, though. He's played. He's been more good than bad, for sure. But can he wash that away? Because we've seen that game was terrible. 5 turnovers. That's terrible. So we'll see what happens, man. And again, I got nothing against Daniel Jones. We'll see what happens. Luann says, you fans are funny. You have Daboll gone already. Watch and... You can't say Daboll gone and already in the same sentence. It's 4 years. 4 years. Ain't nothing already about it. If anything, this is slow cooked. We making briskets over here. It is slow, low and slow. That's the kind of chance Brian Daboll got. Ain't nothing been already. The brisket don't look like it's turning out good, though. Yeah, we still got some, you know what it is, Wells. We still got some Daniel Jones fans in the building, which that's cool. Some people believe that New York is the problem. New York might be the problem. Listen, Indiana Jones is a fire name. He deserves everything that he gets out there. Please let Bellinger. Bellinger's playing. He's playing tomorrow. He practiced. He's playing. Now that's interesting. Atlantic JM says, Dash, would you give Saleh another chance in New York? The question would be, would the city, would the fan base give Saleh a chance in New York? I think Saleh will work wonders with this defense, with this roster. I really do. But if there's any kind of struggle, if he shows any kind of struggle, he'll be prejudged. And I think that part would be, wouldn't be good for us. Because I do think Saleh's a good defensive coordinator, wasn't the best head coach. I don't think he was solely the problem when it came to the Jets, that organization. We think the people running the Giants are bad. That Jets organization is horrible. But Saleh might just be one of those guys that ends up being a better DC than the head coach, because right now he's a fantastic DC. It's kind of like Spags, fantastic DC, horrible head coach. And that's another name that I've been seeing people float around. What's up with all these 60-year-old coaches, man? And I'm not trying to be an ageist or anything like that, man. Shout out to the 60-year-old people. My mom's in her 60s. But Gruden, 60-something. Belichick, 70-something. Spags, 65 years old. Like, come on, man. Come on, man. We got to do better. Wales says, I'm not betting on a guy with painted fingernails in the snow. Let's go, Giants. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. What's the wind in Chicago during the game tomorrow? It's windy. It's going to be bad, man. Shout out to my man Jonathan Pride in the building. What's going on, boy? Boss, man. What's going on, boss? Yo. We caught a couple pauses today, too, man. Just so you know. I don't know if you've been here the whole time, but yeah. The pause has been flying. Isaac Moore, Cliff Kingsbury, ? He's young and has been a head coach. I think Cliff is a go-to name because of the success of Jaden Daniels. You see this year in the games that he didn't have Jaden Daniels, what did that offense look like? And a lot of people said that Mariota was like the perfect backup for Jaden Daniels. And I think Mariota still can play, but you see how that offense looked, without Jaden Daniels looking like Jaden Daniels. So was Cliff the reason why they were 12-5 last year, or did they just have the success off of Jaden Daniels' back? I don't know. Cliff, I saw how things ended with Cliff in Arizona. Horribly. I was glad he was able to redeem himself last year as an OC, but we'll see what happens. And it's funny too, man, because when I talked about the Commanders going into the season and having all those older players and getting in arguments with Commanders fans, and now look at them back in the basement with who? With us. That kind of makes me feel good. Does that make me a horrible person for being happy that the Commanders fell back down from the sky? Does that make me a horrible person? I don't think so. I don't care, actually. Even if it did make me a horrible person. They talk so much trash after winning those games. Let me get some of these super chats. Shout out to Phil. Shout out to Phil with the $2 super chat. Said, what about Vance Joseph or Matt Burke from the Texans? I like Vance Joseph. I'm not too familiar with Matt Burke. I got to look him up. That's a name I got to look up. Thank you for that, Phil. I'm going to look up Matt Burke. Vance Joseph. I like Vance Joseph. I like him. Do I think he leaves? I don't know if he leaves. I think they're trying to finish something over there. We'll see what happens, though. D. Knowles, 486 with the $5 super chat. Appreciate the love and support. He says, having a potential offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year with Thomas and Burns playing out of their mind, have to believe it's not a coaching issue at this point. I've seen enough. Hold on. Having a potential offensive rookie year, defensive rookie year, okay, with Thomas and Burns, those are all good things to have. Playing out of their mind, have to believe it's not a coaching issue. Did you mean it is a coaching issue at this point? I think you mean it is a coaching issue. Correct me if I'm wrong. You ain't got to put a super chat in, but correct me if I'm wrong, Dinos. I think it is a coaching issue when you do have these guys doing that, because I think that Jackson Dart, as far as the offensive rookie of the year, I think Jackson Dart is playing out of structure and doing things and producing that way than just the offense being flawless. And then as far as defensive rookie of the year, we're getting a bunch of pressures, but he's doing that straight off of talent as well, because we already know Bowen is trash. If you get a real DC in here, actually, I'll say this about Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter, again, we say it jokingly, the king of almost all these pressures and stuff like that. If the secondary was just a little bit better, a lot of those end up being sacks. When it comes to Abdul Carter, a lot of those pressure turn-ins, if the secondary was just a little bit better. I really do believe that. Shout out to the big move with the $2 super chat. He says we never have second half adjustments, especially defense. That was one thing that we could always count on when Wink was here, especially in 2022. They went in at halftime and made adjustments. Now it could have just been Wink being as aggressive or coaching as aggressive as he does or did, and sending them blitz, and then we just started getting home. It could have just been that waves and waves and waves of pressure, but it felt like they were making adjustments in 2022. It felt that way. Even in 2023. Remember, what was it? Remember the Cardinals game in 2023 when they went up how many points on us, and then halftime we had that fantastic comeback. We made adjustments. Wink was still here that year too. Imagine that. But yeah, we made adjustments, and we don't see that now, and it's crazy. We don't see forget in game and second half adjustments. We don't see week to week adjustments. Like it's no defending what's going on his defense. It's crazy, but they decide they want to keep him. They want to keep him. Atlantic JM says, "Man, Dash, you might have sold me on Aubrey Pleasant from the McVay tree." Listen, listen. Everybody, do your own research. I'm just throwing a name out there for people to look at. And again, I'm not saying that he can be the guy for the New York Giants in 2026. We still got to see what's happening. I'm just saying, if you hear that name in a couple of years, don't be surprised because, some people told you about him. I can't take all that credit. He's out there doing the work, man. I know something when somebody put that name out there. I think it was like 2 days. I think it was Tuesday, Wednesday this week. I just went out and just started researching Aubrey Pleasant. And that's where I got, the whole Detroit Lions situation and what happened with that. And I dug a little bit deeper looking at to what people were saying about the fire and how people were unhappy with the fire and what they were trying to do. And I was like, oh, okay. And then as soon as he got to McVay, it's been all positive since then. So I love it. And even players, they were like podcast people talking about Aubrey Pleasant getting fired. And I'm like, I never even heard of this guy before. There's podcasts, so he's well liked, and he's a bright young mind when it comes to football. So we'll see what happens with him though. He said, "Not at all, Dash." Nah, that's funny ways. TP says they look good when Daniels was out. The problem is when Daniels and company. No, yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's the deal with Cliff. Yeah, it's a coaching issue. Nah, okay. I felt that. Pause. I figured that's what you was talking about. Yeah, it's a coaching issue. That's a fact. Luann says Giants will win the division next season, although I'm not ruling out this year. I'm gonna tell you right now, we are not winning the division this year. We would need to win all of our games, and then the rest of the division would have to collapse in order for us to win the division. Now, if you said, "Oh, we can get into the wild card," that's mathematically still possible. And that's still slim. It's possible, but it's not probable. Now, next year, depending on what we do in the offseason, maybe next week we do a mock draft. We already an hour and a half into this show, so I'm not going to do a mock draft right now. But I've been doing mock drafts like crazy. So maybe next week we do a mock draft. But yeah, definitely got to get a wide receiver. We got to add some pieces before we talk about winning the division. But I appreciate the optimism for sure. And guess what? If that does happen, you get to take all the credit, Luann, for sure. Work in progress. Work in progress. I'm assuming that's what it is. Work in progress. Situational Dable has been terrible for years now. That's a fact. There's no way to get around it. There's no way to get it. It's bad, man. It's bad. Not calling timeouts when he should call time. Like in that Denver game too, after they got the long completion, Brian Burns is having issues getting back. And then they get an additional 5 yards after that because Brian Burns can't get back. He's limping. You sat on your timeout for what? And gave them an extra 5 yards. Every yard matters when we talk about getting somebody in the field goal position. That's bad coaching. Jackson Dart being left at the end of games, left in, and you're running QB power on the goal line. Are you kidding me? QB power on the goal line. Not once, but twice in a row, and he got in there. He got in there. Okay, perfect. But he took a beating. You can't do that in games that really don't matter. You can't do that. Just for the end score to be a little bit closer. I'm sorry. Stephen R. says, is it a coordinator issue or a head coach issue? It's both. And you know who doesn't get a lot of heat? Mike Kafka. Mike Kafka doesn't get a lot of heat. He got to get some of this heat too. Because guess what? When it's a 7-point game and you abandon a run, I don't know if that's Brian Dable or if it's Mike Kafka. Last week it was 7. What was it last week? It was 7-7. And then they went up 14-7, right? And you abandon a run. You go from 12 personnel, 13 personnel to 11 personnel and sometimes empty backfield. Why? Because you panicked and you're scared now. You got to stick to the run, man, especially when the game is close. Like, what are we doing? Josh McCown, I like Josh McCown as an offensive coordinator. I do. You know who my dream scenario would be? Obviously, I want Brian Flores. I don't think that's going to happen. You know who I really think can fix this defense, possibly get you back into a 4-3, which I think we really should look at that as far as moving the Giants back to a 4-3. And you can mess around with the front a little bit too, man. If you just want Dex at the zero technique, which I want Dex at the zero technique, but he can play A gap, B gap. He don't have to be over the nose. Well, he can play A gap. I don't like him at the B gap, but it is what it is. But the whole point is, I like Jim Schwartz as a defensive coordinator. Who can we hire as a head coach that has a connection with Jim Schwartz? It can get Jim Schwartz here, because I don't know what's going to happen with the Cleveland Browns. I think they probably clean house there too, possibly. Stefanski might be out of a job, but if that staff gets cleaned, then Jim Schwartz in New York, Jim Schwartz with Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, and Abdul Carter. Jim Schwartz is on my short list of defensive coordinators that I would love to have in the building in New York. He's familiar with the NFC East. He coached. He coached the Eagles. He was a coach for the Eagles. Like Jim Schwartz is on my list right now. Okay, shout out to Flavor Ed with the $5 super chat. Says any head coach should dream of building an offense around Dart, unstoppable like the Steelers had. Lynn Swan, you throwing out some names. Lynn Swan, John Stallworth had in the 70s. You didn't even have to go back that far, but salute to you for doing so. Yeah, you can definitely build something around Jackson Dart. Just think, right again, the Giants should have a top 10 pick in the 2026 draft. Anybody that watches college football, familiar with college football, there's some wide receivers coming out that they're gonna be available in the first round. It's not just Jordan Tyson. Carnell Tate is out there. Mekhi Lemon is out there. The other kid from USC, Jacoby Lane, he's looked like he might be creeping into the first round too. And then when you get into the second round, actually, let me go back to the first round. You got Denzel Boston from Washington. There's some talented wide receivers that should be available when the New York Giants are picking, whether we're picking in the top 10 or the top 15 or even in the top 5. And if we are picking in the top 5, I'm probably trading back for more draft capital. But there's some players. And then when you get into the second round, you got guys like Elijah Surratt from Indiana. He didn't play today, but what's his name? Omar Cooper Jr., one of the best catches I've seen in a long time today in that game against the Penn State Nittany Lions. And he might be, I had him at a day 2 guy, Omar Cooper, maybe 4th round. We don't have a 3rd round pick. I would hope that he lasted to the 4th round. But man, there's a lot of players in this draft that the New York Giants can get to help turn this team around for sure. For sure. Couch Coach Tommy says, did you hear the report from W Fan that ownership wanted to fire Dable at the airport from Denver? Got talked out of it. Yeah, you know what's crazy? There was some controversy on who broke that story too. It was I believe who was it? Sean Marash was the one that leaked it on the Fan, and then it come to find out it was Nikki Geist or Geist, whatever her name is. It was Nikki's that actually broke the story first about that whole thing. Yeah, I heard about it, and I want to know who talked them out of it. Because the story went that Mara wanted to fire him. Cooler heads prevailed. Maybe the flight back from Denver was too long, and they had too much time to think about it. Had it been a home game for the Giants, maybe he would have got fired because maybe the flight slowed everything down. I don't know, but cooler heads prevailed is what they said. That's what they said. Cooler heads prevailed, and they just decided to keep or not fire Brian Dable. But I did hear those rumors. Yes, I did. Shout out to my man Cave in the building. What's going on? Salute Dash. LOL. His name is pronounced Young Wei Koo. Young Wei. Alabama up 17-6 early in the 4th. Appreciate the love and support. Thank you for letting me know. Young Wei Koo. I'm going to just call him Koo. Thank you very much. I'm going to just call him Koo. It is what it is. Luann says, go get Wink back. I mean, maybe. We'll see. Montreal says, when do you think make a move for a head coach at the end of the season? I think the first thing that's going to happen is Shane Bowen probably is the first person to go. especially now after hearing the stories now. And I do think they'd possibly just keep them to the end of the season. I just want them to move on. I don't want, like, when we look at the back end of this schedule, a lot of those games are winnable. And I don't want to go on like a 3-game winning streak at the end of the season and everybody be like, well, that's why you got to keep Brian Dable. No, it's been way more bad than good when it comes to Brian Dable, and I don't want to be fooled. I don't want to be fooled by a couple of wins at the end of the season against the Raiders. And, well, we don't know what Dallas exactly is going to be, but against teams like that, or we got the Raiders. It's another team that's bad that we're playing at the end of the year. Vikings don't look that good either. So, I mean, I don't know, but the longer these guys are here, they still have a chance of coming back next year. And that's one of the reasons why I said I would make the move now. Mike Kafka for Brian Dable, Brandon Brown for Joe Shane, so that you know for a fact that you're going to get something new in 2026. That's one of my main reasons of trying to hit the fast forward button on these guys, so that we have no choice but to announce somebody as the new head coach or the new GM. That's why I push for it so much. But I wouldn't be surprised if Brian Dable lasted to the end of the season. That wouldn't surprise me now. If you didn't fire him after all this stuff that's been happening the last couple of weeks, and you would have been justified. Nobody bats an eye if Mara moves on from Brian Dable the last couple of weeks. Nobody does. But we'll see what happens. Nova Nebula, what's going on? He said, man, said this year. This year, what you talking about this year? This year, right? You talking about the division this year? Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy. It is what it is, though. It is what it is. Luann says, I want to see a lot of blitzing for these 8 games. They should be blitzing 100% of the game. Corner blitz. Go send Andrew Phillips on a couple corner blitzes. Do that. You want to see something out of Tyler Nubin? Blitz Tyler Nubin. Jonathan Pride says, best thing about us is the draft. That's hilarious, man. It's sad. It's sad. It's really sad. It's the truth, though. It's only funny because it's true. Special Kalen says, the prevent defense has prevented us from winning a couple. A couple games this year. Prevent, I hate it. You know what I laughed at, though, the other day? What was it? Thursday night watching the Raiders. What was it? Raiders Broncos game, and seeing Patrick Graham, and that soft zone defense. Seeing that, I don't miss that at all. Reminded me of all those times, just like, what were we doing all this year? Just wasting all these players. The Big Moose says, remember the Titans. We're going to blitz all day. Don't let up a yard. Let me tell you, so I got a love-hate relationship with the Remember the Titans movie, right? Remember the Titans came out fall of 2000. That was my final year at Union High School playing football. And the whole team went out to see Remember the Titans before the playoff game. And I remember I was like, man, that was one of the best movies I ever seen. Was all hyped. And then that next game we lost. We lost in the playoffs. First round of the playoffs. We made it all the way to Rutgers my junior year, then lost in the first round of the playoffs to a team we beat the week before. And I always blamed Remember the Titans for that loss, because it was almost like we was too motivated over the movie and went in there and wasn't doing the right thing. But that's just a little bit of story time. Shout out to the class of 2001 Union Fighting Farmers. That's a fact. OKC Donald says that was Shanahan's staff before Gruden became what? That was Shanahan's staff before. Is that Gruden became Washington's head coach? Oh, old man Shanahan. That's right. Old man Shanahan. That's right. Yes, that is right. I'm glad you caught that. I forgot old man Shanahan was with the Commanders. He's the one that got RG3 killed. Yeah, he's the one that ended RG3's career. Shanahan left him in, had him play that game when he wasn't right. He wasn't right. RG3 was a menace when he first got out there too. And then Haloti Nada hit him and took his knee from him. And he wasn't the same after that. Said, I want Denver's DC. Well, that's what you call it. That's he just said the name. Damn, I'm getting old, man. That's Vance Joseph. is the DC for Denver. Bring back AP. A lot of people talk about Antonio Pierce. Antonio Pierce has never been a defensive coordinator. I wouldn't mind Antonio Pierce on the staff. I wouldn't mind that. I like his energy. He holds people accountable. A little bit younger. I wouldn't mind Antonio Pierce on the staff. Linebackers coach 100%. Defensive coordinator, maybe. He's never done it before. He done it. Well, I think he did it at ASU. I think he did it at ASU when he was here working under head Herm Edwards, if I'm not mistaken. C Bone says, with the 49 super chat, thank you for the love and support. He says Shane and Dabes are fugazi. That always love the word fugazi, man. Always that emotional yet coherent W fan caller from Valley Stream that got hung up on a month ago was spot on. Dash ain't fugazi. I appreciate the love and support. Hopefully, listen, one thing, I'll keep it real, whether I'm right or wrong. It's never going to be fake. It's actually what I believe at the time. Now, if what I'm believing is wrong or I end up being wrong, I own up to it. Ask my man Jay Ferris. I own up to everything I said that was wrong. But I'm never going to say something that I don't believe. But shout out to you. Appreciate the love and support. Rev says we need to get another hard-nosed running back. I believe it. I got a name for the people that watch college football. I got a name for you. There's a running back named Terrion Stewart from Virginia Tech. Used to play for Bowling Green. This is his first year at Virginia Tech. Go watch Terrion Stewart. Just type it up on YouTube. Type up Terrion Stewart and then Terion Stewart, Stewart. Tell me who he reminds you of. You don't got to go. You don't got to leave right now. If you got another electronic and you can do it, do it. I don't want you leaving the show to go check out Terrion Stewart, but you can if you want to. But watch Terrion Stewart and tell me who he reminds you of. I would love to get Terrion Stewart in like the 5th, 6th round if he's available. Stephen R. says, Steve Tisch saved the day again. You know what I thought about with Steve Tisch, man? I give Steve Tisch way too much credit. That man don't have nothing to do with nothing. And then every time when the New York Giants were in despair, we say Steve Tisch, and I'm guilty of saying this. Man, Steve Tisch got to come here and then straighten things up. Nah, man. Steve Tisch been an owner for a long time, co-owner, part owner, whatever. He's been a part of the Giants for a long time. This is his watch too. He okayed everybody that's been all the GM changes, all the head coaching changes, all that. Steve Tisch was a part of all of those decisions. I used to be like that, Steve, because you know why? Because we never really see Steve Tisch until some decisions have to be made. And then what does he do? He flies in from LA or from wherever he is. I don't know where he lives, full time, but he always shows up when everybody's in despair. And I think we give him a lot of credit for coming in and making a decision. I'm not doing that anymore. Forget that. All of them are bad. Everybody that's making decisions for the New York Giants are bad. Maybe outside of the person in charge of like the menu in the cafeteria, everybody else is making bad decisions in there. And I don't even know what's on the menu. It might be bad decisions on the menu too, but it's a bunch of bad decisions happening at 1925 Giants Drive for sure. Brian Billick was a great coach. He's 71 now and coaching in college. Is Brian Billick's in college? I didn't know that. Where's he at? I didn't know that. What about Chris Mara? I said something about Chris Mara? Let me know, Juan Santiago. Said, what if they went out? If they went out, fantastic. If they went out, fantastic. See, and I'm not saying this to you, Remy, but if I'm ever wrong, and shout out to my man D-Day, and I see you. If I'm ever wrong about anything that I say, but it benefits the Giants, I don't care about being wrong. I'm never afraid of being wrong. Like I told you guys, going up to the draft, I was a big Shedeur Sanders fan, right? I liked Jackson Dart, but I didn't like Jackson Dart in the first round. I was dead wrong on Jackson Dart, which a lot of people were dead wrong on Jackson Dart. You think I care about being wrong? If somebody say, oh, Dash, you didn't even want Jackson Dart. Yeah, I know. And I was wrong. But I'm not the coach. I'm not the GM. I don't make the decisions. It's not my job to be right. It's their job to be right. And they got lucky. Well, I should say that's the one thing that's the one saving grace for Brian Dable is that he got Jackson Dart in the building, but he's also the same guy that's out here getting him pummeled at the end of games. So what are we doing? Sorry for the rant. Kenya says, why keep Shane and start your search now? You don't have to keep Shane. You like interim. The interim title is there for a reason. Interim GM, Brandon Brown. Interim head coach, Brian Dable. You don't have to keep anybody right now. Remy says there's a reason why they didn't fire Dable after the Denver game. Why do you think that is? I think it's all about optics to them. After they fired, you figure McAdoo got 2 years, Shermer got 2 years, Judge got 2 years. I really do believe that they believe that we really care about those guys being fired and we're just doing it again. No, you can fire as many people as you want 2 years after. Just get to the right person. Just don't stop trying. Don't hold on to this guy because you're worried about how it looks. Meanwhile, what it looks like right now is not good. So I can't tell you the exact reason why they saved him. But it's probably something that has to do with optics, and they don't like how that looked. They don't want to look like they're overreacting and just doing things. So it is what it is. Special Kalen says the 4-3 makes sense because the current personnel converts from 3-4 to nickel and makes us vulnerable, susceptible to a wider range of predictable coverages. Absolutely. And then the funny thing is, last week, you saw them go with the even front. They had the even front with 3 tackles and Kayvon Thibodeau. And they had Brian Burns in an almost will linebacker type of setup or alignment. And that's what they ran out there a few times, thinking that they were going to be able to stop the run in that 4-man in the even front. And it didn't work either. You put 3 tackles on the field. You had Dex. First of all, you had Dex. You had Roy Robinson Harris. And then at the defensive end spot, the pseudo defensive end was Nacho. Thinking that you were going to be able to stop the run, and you still couldn't stop the run. Kayvon was playing the other defensive end, and Kayvon had some better games. Listen, I got nothing bad to say about Kayvon this year. Kayvon has been doing this thing. But even when you go to that 4-man, you still didn't play it right because you got Brian Burns standing up playing will linebacker, like you're putting him in coverage. Now sometimes he was blitzing off of that because I have to call it a blitz because it wasn't a traditional lineup. It was an even man front, so it's not when him rushing the passer, that's a blitz. But I'm like, come on, it is what it is, though. It is what it is. Dino says when you look at some of these offenses out there, Dable scheme ain't even all that. Imagine Dart with an innovative offense. Fun. Listen, that's what I'm talking about, man. You got to find one of these younger, like we want to go to these older coaches because of stability and what they've done before. Meanwhile, we don't know if they're going to be out of touch or not. I want one of these young up and coming brilliant minds. I want somebody off the McVay tree. I want somebody off the Shanahan tree because those guys seem to be forward thinking. Now they might not have all the success. Now that Shanahan tree is a little iffy. We saw Saleh as a head coach, didn't work out. We saw Mike McDaniel as a head coach, didn't work out. That McVay tree a little bit better with Kevin O'Connell and some other guys that's out there. But they still are forward thinking. We need somebody got to hit. Like somebody got to hit out of these, right? Shout out to my man H-Town. He says real coaches elevate talent, develop talent, and maximize talent in entry level at every level with proper leadership, real leader of men, and knowing how to make proper adjustments on and off the field. That's a fact. Carmen Brasillo is a real coach. Brian Dable is a real coach just on the offensive side. Horrible as a head coach. I seen some people say, oh, well, if you bring Bill Belichick here, you can demote Brian Dable. You can't demote head coaches. It don't work like that. You don't do stuff like that. It's ridiculous. But I still hear people say stuff like that. But no, it's all about having real coaches. Like there's other positional coaches that I'm starting to look at now. Like I'm looking at the wide receiver coaches. Now you can say that this wide receiver, we avoid the talent. We don't have that much talent in the wide receiver room. But the guys that we do, why aren't they developing? We talk about Jalen Hyatt. Well, Jalen Hyatt doesn't. They say Jalen Hyatt can't run routes, or Jalen Hyatt doesn't know the playbook. Well, why doesn't he? He got all the time in the world to learn. That's what he does. That's his profession, to go out there and run routes and be better. I don't think that Jalen Hyatt has an issue with running routes. I think he can run routes. I just think he's not getting the separation because of his size. And then I think right now he's not used to that extra weight. I just think he needs a little bit more time. He might not get that with the Giants, though. And again, that's me being kind of a softie with Jalen Hyatt, but it is what it is. Pause. D-Dan says Wink's defense was good. Dable's offense was weak. Wink called Dable out on it, and we saw what happened. But let me tell you, this is how I know the decision making is soft. All that stuff Wink did that we found out after the fact, after he left. Brian Dable never fired him. Remember the exit meeting? Remember the exit meeting in 2023? And they were saying, well, is Wink still going to be a defensive coordinator? He was like, yeah, Wink's going to be Meanwhile, Wink was on a plane on his way to Florida. And we didn't hear from him for days. Remember that? He went MIA. He was gone. And he still wanted to keep him, knowing all that stuff was happening in the background. Wink was calling meetings and moving up the time so that Brian Dable wouldn't be able to sit in those meetings. Like, that's real stuff that was happening. And you didn't fire him after that. You ain't got the balls to do it then. So when I'm looking at him trying to make the decision, he'd rather get fired himself than fire Shane Bowen, and it's getting ridiculous. Speaking of that, I know a lot of people in here are 50-50 on Pat Leonard. For the people that don't know who Pat Leonard is a beat writer, been a beat writer for the New York Giants for a while. This week was crazy, some of the stuff he was saying to Brian Dable, but he's trying to get under Brian Dable's skin. He asked Brian Dable if he was crying after the game. Hilarious to me. Absurd for somebody to ask him that. He asked him about Shane Bowen still being the DC and then also still being the one that calls the plays. He asked him about, the rumor was you were going to be fired after the Denver game. How do you feel about that? Like Pat Leonard was really asking these questions, and salute to Pat. Some people can't stand him. Some people call him Pat the Rat. No, I think Pat definitely has an agenda. He definitely sees, he's like a shark. He senses blood. But he's doing a lot of the heavy lifting out here. For a lot of people that are too afraid, a lot of these beat writers don't ask certain questions, and we see that. But man, I appreciate what Pat Leonard's doing. I appreciate what Dan Duggan is doing. I appreciate even what Jordan Renan is doing, because even Jordan Renan is starting to ask the questions. Connor Hughes, he's starting to ask those type of questions as well. They're trying to figure out exactly what we're going to do. It is what it is. Dope Dad says, Big Dash, we need a mock draft. Maybe we do one next week. We might do one next week for sure. I'm thinking about it. I do like 2 or 3 a day anyway. I did 2 today. I know that for a fact. I'm probably going to do a couple more before I go to bed. New York State of Mind says the defense has more talent on it now than they had with Wink. That's a fact. They do. They really do. I will say this, though. That first year, though, 2022 was different. You had Dex and you had Leonard Williams. Secondary safeties, Julian Love and McKinney. Yeah, that was good. But overall, I do believe that this year's defense is a little bit more talented. A little bit from that 2020. Definitely more talented than 23 and 24. That's well, when did McKinney left in 24. Yeah. So yeah, it is what it is. Let me get to some of these super chats. Visionary Vega says, looked up Terrion Stewart, got that Bradshaw in him. That's a fact. No, he did. He the first person is not getting him down. And that's the type of runner we need. Now he's small. He kind of, you know what? He reminds me of Scatterboo. Because when I saw him, the first person's not getting him down. He's about 5'8", 212 pounds, 215 pounds, just like Scatterboo. That's the first person I thought of. But Bradshaw is a good call too. Jonathan Pride with the $5 super chat says Pat is a gangster. He asks the questions we want. He holds no bars. That's a fact. 2 or 3 a day is insane. 2 more before bed. Hey yo, I'm telling you, it's crazy. I got it up right now on my screen in the background. Mock drafts. It is what it is. And then if I'm in the bed, I'm on my phone doing mock drafts. I kid you not. If I'm lying, I'm flying. Seb Dawkins says, I'm in there. What you in on? I think we draft OT out of Utah. That's possible. That's possible. You know what's crazy? There's a lot of time before we get to the draft, and I didn't want to make this stream about the draft, but it is what it is. We just yapping anyway. We talking. Depending on what happens with Illuminor, I think we need to re-sign Illuminor. Van Roten is gone, so most likely Marcus Bow gets kicked inside. You still got some years left on John Runyon, but you can also save a decent amount of money if you cut Runyon, but then you're just going to turn around and replace him. So where the kid from Utah, I believe is Lomu. It's two kids from Utah actually. I think you're talking about Lamo, something like that. I don't think we go. I don't think we go. I don't think we take a lineman that high in the first round. I think that first round is going to be wide receiver. I really do believe that they're going to attack the wide receiver in the first, because that's where a lot of that talent is wide receiver. If Jordan Tyson falls to us, perfect. Kind of like Cornell Tate more than Jordan Tyson right now, and he's just getting better. But Mekhi Lemon is right there too, and I just think about this wide receiver room and what we're looking for. Shout out to Justin Pinnock too, because Justin Pinnock put out a video talking about Wan'Dale Robinson. And that was eye-opening, too, because Wan'Dale Robinson is actually doing this thing right now. And obviously he's in the contract year, too, so there's some decisions that got to be made. But I do think you keep Wan'Dale Robinson and you add another 2 wide receivers in the draft to try to revamp this wide receiver room. A lot of people say, you can cut Slayton or cut Slayton. It won't save you any money. It won't even save you $1 million if you cut Slayton in 2026. So Slayton's going to be on the squad unless you can trade him and somebody takes that contract. So you probably draft two wide receivers, and they eventually just take over, the spots that Slayton has and push Wan'Dale Robinson a little bit further down. But yeah, it's going offensive line in the first round over some of these wide receivers. I wouldn't do it. Not right now, I wouldn't do it. But also if we lose Illuminor, then you're probably trying to either put Marcus Bow at right tackle, and then you're trying to look for a guard. But we'll see what happens, man. It's still early. It's still early. Flavor Ed says Frank Tisch might have talked Mara out of the firing. I don't know, maybe. Maybe I think that it's only one Tisch that actually works for us too, I think. Then Isaac says Tisch is just a bag man. That's funny, but probably right. Well says you're right, Dash. Bad decisions from the top down. That's a fact, man. But they're not getting rid of the Maras. We're not getting rid of the Maras. It's not going to happen. There's no scandals going on with the Mara outside of this whole Rooney Rule thing. But I don't think they're playing that. It's not like the guy from Washington, from the Commanders, doing what he was doing. He was wilding. D-Dan says, I don't think Gruden and Mara will work. I don't think so either. Rev, you got a chance to look at it, Rev? That's a fact, man. I'm telling you. He can't catch like Scatterboo, though. He's not giving you anything in the passing. At least he hasn't shown that in college. Whether he was at Bowling Green or when he was at Virginia Tech, he's not giving you what Scatterboo can give you out of the backfield as far as in the receiving game. But running between the tackles, not going down easily, fighting for the extra yards. Terrion Stewart is that guy for sure. But his size alone, just as he's shorter, I could see him going in the fifth round, most likely. All right. Nova Nebula says firing Dable in season really has no benefit. It's just a head start. It's letting everybody else know that he's gone. My thing was this too. Another thing that I was looking at: Hard Knocks starts in December. If everything remains the same, like each week is a loss, and it's clearly the decision making, clearly the coaching. Just think about how bad of a look it's going to be for the organization, because they can't stop the HBO cameras from showing up. And the one thing that we know about the Mariners, they hate to be embarrassed. And I think if they make the move now, that could possibly save them some embarrassment of what could possibly happen if they keep Brian Dable, going into December. But that's just another thought. Brian Billick is he's in Arizona. Okay, cool. Boat Josh says Mike McDaniel OC is perfect. Somebody been looking at my notes. D-Dan says, Dash, those young dudes are a huge gamble. Possibly. Luann says, Dash, I believe another DC would bring out Abdul Carter because he isn't looking like a third overall pick. You know who gets a little bit of the like Kayvon Thibodeau playing the way that he's playing is what's keeping Abdul Carter from getting the snaps that he should be getting as a third overall pick. Like right now, he's a rotation guy. If Brian Burns needs a breather, they bring in Carter. If Tibbs needs a breather, they're bringing in Carter. That's when we normally see Carter. Now, and there are still some occasions where all three of those guys are on the field at the same time. But a hard decision has to be made. Like, I love the way Kayvon Thibodeau is playing right now. Obviously, we have the fifth-year option in 2026. Whether or not he decides to hold out for a new contract, that's something we need to look at. But at some point in time, Brian Burns is Brian Burns. He's stamped. He solidified himself right now with what he's doing this year. When do you get Abdul Carter on the field full time? Right now, they're not making that decision. And until, and I don't want this to happen, until Thibodeau is out of the way, you're not going to see Carter coming off the edge as much as you want to, because Tibbs is just doing that good of a job right now. And that's crazy too, because who would have thought that Kayvon Thibodeau going into this year would have been holding off Abdul Carter? And that's exactly what he's doing right now. That's exactly what he's doing. Mosley says, Pat Leonard, Jordan Renan, love those guys. That's a fact. Two Giant Goofball says, Pat doesn't always have the best approach. He don't ever have the best approach, man. It's almost like a boxer with no jabs. Pat Leonard's throwing haymakers. Non-stop haymakers. Either they connect or they don't. Either they connect or he falling on his face. Shout out to Pat for that. There's no jabs. There's no bobbing and weaving. None of that. Pat just throw haymakers all fight. That's it. Especially now since he senses blood. Pat Leonard's on a generational run. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. Oh, that's a good. We should have paid Dalvin Tomlinson. Loved Dalvin Tomlinson when he was here, but you couldn't have Tomlinson, Dex, and Leonard all at the same. You couldn't afford all of them. They chose Leonard. Dalvin Tomlinson was nice though. Wales says, "Oh, Dash, no made an effing draft in November gives us dignity. Give us our dignity, please. Dignity's gone, man. The dignity left with Denver. The dignity got left on the field in Denver. That's what dignity was. That's where the dignity was left. Now we just back to where we've been. But to Luann's point, hey, we might be able to go on a run. If we go on a run, then cool. Boat Josh says, you trading Kayvon this offseason. Put it this way. If Kayvon Thibodeau is not in the plans, in the future plans, as far as whether we can't afford him or he's just not in your plans, then you should have traded him this year. You still have control because you got him on the fifth-year option. You might see a move get made in the draft. Me personally, I'm not trading Kayvon. I'm not trading Kayvon, but I also understand why people would trade Kayvon. You definitely have his possible replacement waiting right now with Abdul Carter, and Kayvon Thibodeau playing as well as he is playing. To me, I might be wrong, prevents Abdul Carter from getting more snaps. It is what it is. Keith Spencer says a good way to test if your team sucks or not is, can Caleb Williams carve you up? I'll do you one even better, Keith. Spencer Rattler carved us up. Spencer Rattler did it. It is what it is. We hit the 2-hour mark. We're going to wrap this thing up pretty soon. Get to some more of these comments before we get out of here. And again, we do have a game tomorrow. We have not talked about the Chicago Bears games too much. I'll talk about it really briefly right now. Keys to victory are the same every week. I don't surprise anybody with what I'm saying. Now that I know the weather might be obviously windy, but also possible snow or rain. Got to be able to run the ball. Got to be able to stop the run for both teams. Tyrone Tracy should have a big role in this game. You keep it with the tight ends as always. Bellinger is back. Happy about that. He should be tight end one over Theo Johnson. Not saying that Theo Johnson will not get his reps, but he should not get reps over Daniel Bellinger. You should have brought up little Jordan Humphreys, especially against the Chicago Bears. Their weakness is their secondary right now. But what good is a weak secondary if you don't have the weapons to attack? Now, all of a sudden, maybe this happens because the secondary is so weak. Knock on wood. Maybe Darius Slayton has a breakout game. Maybe that happens. Maybe you take some shots down the field. But it's going to be a conscious. It's going to have to be a conscious effort of sticking with the run, and also making sure that you get your tight ends involved early, because that's what makes Jackson Dart right now. With the way we're playing right now, that's what makes Jackson Dart the most comfortable, is getting those tight ends involved early, a couple of quick throws, on-time throws, and he's able to operate and get a feel of what the pressure is looking like. On a defensive side against Caleb Williams, the hardest thing about Caleb Williams, Pauls, is his ability to extend plays. Because he has the ability to extend plays, that makes me fearful for this secondary. Because if the play breaks down, if we don't get home, most likely the coverage on the back end is not going to be there. And you're going to see some targets downfield and possibly some big plays happen. If we're able to get home, though, against Caleb Williams, because, again, Caleb Williams is not the fastest, but he is elusive. But if you got pressure coming from the middle with Dexter Lawrence, and also coming from the outside or the edges with Brian Burns, Tibbs, and Abdul Carter, I believe that you got a good chance of being able to slow down Caleb Williams, if not stop Caleb Williams. And if that's the case, the New York Giants can win this game against the Chicago Bears. So while I said all this, and while we're wrapping this up, go ahead and throw some of your predictions in, or actually throw your predictions in for the game tomorrow. Giants versus Bears. Who do you have winning? What's your score prediction? Shout out to Special Kalen with the $5 super chat. He says, have the coaches shown us an honest evaluation of the potential in guys like Slayton, Hyatt, and Robinson? Well, I could definitely answer the question on Hyatt. They have not. Do we know if they would be good elsewhere? Well, Hyatt, I mean, Slayton has made plays, right? We've seen Slayton make plays, throughout his time being here. Obviously, we've seen him have some heartbreaking plays where he's dropping passes and fumbling. Also, but I believe Slayton has shown that he is a NFL wide receiver, not an NFL wide receiver 2, possibly not an NFL wide receiver 3, but he definitely makes a lot of rosters. I think he's good enough to make other teams' rosters. Robinson has shown us, and we've seen it, that he actually can have a positive effect on games if he's being targeted, whether it's in the short game, quick game, or even some deep shots down the field. Robinson has shown that he can play. When it comes to Hyatt, the only time we've seen Hyatt produce is when they actually use him in the entire games. If you want to go back to 2 years ago, against the Packers, when Tommy DeVito was the quarterback, you saw Hyatt making plays because of what? Because they were actually making a conscious effort to get him involved in the game. Since then, the only time we've seen Hyatt get used is if Slayton is out or some other wide receiver is out and they have to force him on the field. For me, Slayton is a guy that has to get into a rhythm. You can't just take him in and out and stuff like that. Pause. You have to use him throughout. You have to use him in the entire game. He's one of those guys that that needs to get a feel of the game, and he has not had that chance. Has not had that chance to do that. So I think if Hyatt was to go somewhere else, not saying he's a wide receiver 2 or 3, I'll put him in that same boat as Slayton without the actual production. But Hyatt can be a wide receiver 4 somewhere, a wide receiver 5 somewhere for sure, where you have a coach that actually coaches the entire team and not just certain players. And that's what we saw. And I said it when Malik Neighbors went down, everybody was upset about it. I thought it sucked. I thought it was crazy. But I also said sometimes you have blessings in disguise, and it's really not a blessing losing Malik Neighbors. But you figure you take away the crutch from Jackson Dart, or I should say the crutch for Brian Dable, because Brian Dable leans on players. We see it. It was Neighbors when Neighbors was a rookie. When Neighbors went out, it was Cam Scatterbull and it was Jackson Dart. But Jackson Dart is learning this offense without having that dominant wide receiver on the outside. So next year, when Malik Neighbors is back, Jackson Dart's going to be even better than what he is right now. And if you add more pieces to that wide receiver room, sky's the limit for Jackson Dart. So I'm all in on Jackson Dart if you guys already didn't know, after being somebody that was a little bit iffy on him during the draft process. I did not. There was nothing on that Ole Miss tape that showed me what Jackson Dart is doing right now. We knew he was a gamer. We knew he was athletic. We knew he could take some shots downfield, but being able to move the way that he's moving at the NFL level, I didn't know. And again, I'm happily wrong about that. All right, I got one. Well, nope. How many predictions did I get so far? Okay, I got Michael Knight. Shout out to Michael Knight. He says Giants 20, Bears 31. Damn, Mike. That's how we starting this thing, huh? That's how we starting this thing. Michael Knight says 20, Giants 20, Bears 31. Let's see what else we got. Dad's Life says, my predictions for tomorrow: defense won't step up because they're done with Dable and Bowen. They don't want to give any excuse to keep them. Going to be another big old dude he left on the field. Okay. Listen, I think we got to win. I think we get a win tomorrow. I really do. I hope. I'll say that. I hope. I think it's possible, though. I think looking at these next games, we got a tour of the NFC North. We got the Bears tomorrow. Then we got the Packers. Then we got the Lions, and then we play Minnesota a little bit later. But out of this 3-game stretch, the Chicago Bears are the most winnable game out of the next 3, in my opinion. Kenya says 24-21 Giants. Special Kalen says Giants over in points. Wales says we got one in Dart. That's a fact. We really do. Stephen R says 17-14 Giants. Luann says 27-21 Giants. Stephen R says Dart throws and runs for a touchdown and keep the streak alive. I got the parlay. I got the prop bet going with those exact numbers. I got a touchdown and I got a throwing touchdown and a running touchdown. Hopefully my parlay hits. Shout out to FanDuels. Y'all ain't called me or messaged me yet, FanDuel. Go ahead and do that. Mr. Dagger Status. Mr. Dagger Status says Giants 35, Bears 21. Special Kellen says Giants over in the passing yards. I hope so. I'm hoping Jackson Dart gets a 200-yard game. We've seen a lot of 150s, 170, 190-yard passing games. I would love him to crack 200 again. Wales says 34-27. The Bears. You think the Bears put up that many points? It's possible. Rev says 21-17. I'm assuming you're saying the Giants. Let me know, Rev, for sure. William Horton says Bears 35-21. Dope Dez. What's going on, Dope Dez? He said, Big Dash, we got a new kicker. Giants 10, Bears 7. Hilarious. I see what you did there. Ian Campbell says 34-24 Bears. A lot of honesty in the chat today. Sean Jackson says 28-21 Giants to save Dabes for another week. We're not in the business of saving Dabes, that's for sure. My man Isaac, what's going on, Isaac? He says 23-17 Giants. Dope Dad says defense. Kenya said you got a good point at Dad's Life. Rev said yes, sir. All right, we're going to go ahead and close this thing out again. We went to the 2-hour mark. 170 people still in the building. Hopefully the likes are up there. And if you have not hit that like button already, please just close out of the chat and hit that like button. It does more than you guys even know as far as the channel, getting the channel out there and the channel growth. We're on the road to 10,000. I believe we're, just a little bit over 400 away. Or I might actually be a little bit over 300 away now. It's been a while since I checked, but it's all because of you guys, the growth and the support and the love that you guys show. But with that, I got a couple more predictions. 34-17 from, is it Mentenim, I think. Erlon, what's going on, Erlon? Erlon says 21-27 Bears. We're seeing Dart put up 3 and lose again. That's crazy, but it is what it is. That's what we've been seeing. Dart having fantastic games and the coaching not being able to close it out. Wells says, great stream, Dash. Keep up the great work. Enjoy the game. Let's go, Giants. And we're going to end it on that, man. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for vibing with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Actually, before I do that, I will be here for the live post-game reaction. So if you guys want to, you can tune in tomorrow. Right after the game, I will be going live. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for vibing with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And from one Giants fan to another, this is Big Dash Knows Big Blue Nation. Let's go.